If it's not getting better, if we're not relying less upon the provider over time, then the provider is not actually addressing the cause, but is harvesting the fruit. If you don't want the fruit, well, you got to dig out the tree. If you just pay someone to harvest your fruit, well, okay, just so long as you know what you're doing. So when Andrew Taylor Still would demonstrate treatments for people, he would start indirect. So in this case, with the head, it'd be like going here. You know, I said it was this sort of thing. So it'd make more sense if I was kind of hit up top, if I put the side bending component. So it'd be like going to that point where the body wouldn't rather be anywhere else. So we train our palpation to feel ease. Where is it easy to go? And when you get it to the position of maximal ease, there's a feeling. Flow returns. Normal for the body is flow, is oneness, is integration. A normal person will feel like a fluid whole that expands out to the horizon. Now, hardly anybody feels like that because most of us have been traumatized. Babies will feel like that frequently. Indigenous people can feel like that because they don't, like indigenous people who are still living their sort of ancestral lifestyles, because they are not boxed in as much as we are. We're very much kind of boxed in and contained with how we live our lives and how our housing is set up, how much time we spend inside. But so anyways, normal is oneness, is flow. So when we find that balance of tension, normal in the tissues returns. And the inherent motions, one inherent motion that everyone knows about is breathing, but there are other inherent motions as well, like the cranial rhythmic impulse. And then there's different rates of that impulse, but that's beyond the scope of this video. So those can flow into those tissues. Here would be dense and couldn't get into, but here the tissues soften and flow can go in. And if we wait in that position for a little bit, what will happen is the restriction will release and the inherent forces will bring it back towards neutral. Kind of like a tensegrity model will maintain a neutral position. If you change one of its elements, the tension on it, well then the position of every element and the tension of every element changes slightly. That's what our body's like. So when the restriction releases from its pathologic neutral, then the tensegrity of the structure brings it back into balance with the whole. Because that's how the body works. It's a distributed, like reciprocal tension network throughout the whole body. So when the founder of osteopathy would treat, he would do that, then it would release, and he would get it to like release so deeply, so precisely, it would frequently move out the other direction with some velocity, and he would follow it and guide it through, and then go through where the barrier was. And because he released the soft tissue, a pop would happen with very little effort. But people watching would see, okay, nothing's happening, doesn't look like anything's happening, doesn't look like anything, and they'd hear the pop, they'd see the person's eyes respond, and you could understand how someone like Palmer might think that Andrew Taylor was trying to trick people, that this phase was a distraction and a waste, and that it was just about the pop. I think that's what happened, because instead of becoming an osteopath, Palmer then set off to use the little bit he got from Still to do his own thing and to chase the pop. And I think because he thought Still was trying to trick people, because Still would always say, don't chase the pop. What's most important is the indirect release, and the pop may or may not happen. It doesn't matter. I see this principle in my practice a lot of the times in the wrist, the way that I work, where I can take a wrist and kind of move it around and it's not clicking. I can feel a restriction and I can just like take it through that motion to see if it pops, and it doesn't pop easily. But then I treat it indirectly, and after it releases, I make that motion very gently and it clicks free.